Hello and welcome. Tonight, more trouble for Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, as Federal High Court Abuja adjourns indefinitely his trial. Supreme Court dismisses the appeal filed by Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State, challenging the leadership of the State House of Assembly under Mr. Martin Amewule. The State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal adjourns proceedings till Wednesday, February the 12th, for the All Progressives Congress to open its defense. And Donald Trump says he will unveil a fresh wave of tariffs this week, including 25% on all steel and aluminium imports.
On business news tonight, Central Bank announces February 19 and 20 as new dates for its February 2025 Monetary Policy Committee meeting.
On sports news tonight, Pep Guardiola says he's optimistic and calm on the eve of Manchester City's blockbuster Champions League tie against Real Madrid, despite a turbulent season for his side.
And from the nation's capital, Pan-Niger Delta Forum PANDEF asked President Bola Tinubu to sign the South-South Development Commission bill into law to create a balance across the 6 regions of the country.
We begin with the courts. Justice Binta Nyako of the Federal High Court Abuja has adjourned the trial of the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, indefinitely. Justice Nyako adjourned the suit following Mr. Kanu's insistence that the judge cannot preside over his case since she had recused herself. At the resumed session, the prosecution counsel, Mr. Adegboyega Awumalo, told the court that the prosecution was ready to proceed with the trial. However, lead counsel to Mr. Kanu, Mr. Aloy Ejimako, insisted that was not the issue before the court. Our correspondent, Emanuela Ekele, reports.
The leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu, is back at the Federal High Court, Abuja, for the case of alleged terrorism instituted against him by the federal government. He's received by his lawyers and family. Mr. Kanu's trial was told after Justice Nyako recused herself from the case following an oral application by the defendant on September 24, 2024. At the resumed hearing, Justice Nyako explained that although she does not want to preside over the case, the Chief Judge had refused her recusal and directed the defendant to file a formal motion asking for the reassignment of the case to another judge. Addressing the judge, Mr. Kanu said he does not recognize the authority of the court. The IPOB leader said he was only in court because of the respect he had for the court, adding that Justice Nyako no longer had the jurisdiction to preside over his case following her recusal in September. In his submission, the prosecution counsel urged the court to fix a date for trial, since the defendant had indicated that he would not make a formal application. In her ruling, Justice Binta Nyako said the only decision is to adjourn the case indefinitely, though Mr. Kanu raised objection. However, she adjourned the case indefinitely.
An old man like this doesn't know the law.
Shortly after the court proceeding, Mr. Kanu and his lawyers speak on the issues surrounding the case.
The prosecution and this court doesn't know the law. That is the fact. Yes. Poor knowledge of the law is killing Nigeria. Poor knowledge of the law, they don't know the law. This is a federal gazetted law of Nigeria that says here that the Chief Judge of Nigeria cannot tell Binta Nyako what to do. It's here. It's your law. Just obey it.
So we came here today on a limited appearance. We appeared under protest out of utmost respect for the judge and for the court, to listen to the court as to the reasons why we were invited before the same court that was recused in September last year.
One of his lawyers pleaded with the federal government to be fair and release him, as has been done with other agitators.
Nnamdi Kanu is feeling that Nigeria is not fair to him. He's just a human rights activist agitating for self-determination with reasons.
Now that the case of Nnamdi Kanu has been adjourned indefinitely, many Nigerians are waiting to see how it will play out whenever the case comes up again in court. From the Federal High Court, Abuja, Emanuela Ekele, Channels Television News.
Staying with the courts, a five-man panel of the Supreme Court, led by Justice Uwani Abaji, has dismissed the appeal filed by Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State, challenging the leadership of the State House of Assembly under Mr. Martin Amewele as the Speaker. The dismissal follows the withdrawal of the suit by Governor Fubara's counsel, Mr. Yusuf Ali, who informed the court that the appeal has been overtaken by events. Delivering the ruling, Justice Abaji then imposed a cost of 4 million naira fine on Governor Fubara, payable to the Rivers State House of Assembly and Mr. Martin Amewele.
The atmosphere at the Supreme Court is calm as lawyers and other litigants await the commencement of the day's proceedings in the legal battle between Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State and group of state lawmakers led by Martin Amewele. After the introductions, the lawyer representing Governor Fubara withdraws one of the appeals challenging the decision of the Court of Appeal mandating the governor to represent the 2024 budget to the Martin Amewele Assembly. He states that the appeal has been overtaken by events. In a short ruling, the five-man panel of justices dismissed the appeal and awarded a 4 million naira cost against Governor Fubara. Although the counsel to Governor Fubara was unavailable for comments, the lawyer to Mr. Amewele applauds the outcome of the appeal.
Martin Amewele is the leader, that is the Speaker of the House of Assembly. So that is the position today. And I must add that the Court of Appeal had admonished and clearly stated that the House, purportedly being led by a three-man panel, is not the House, Rivers State House of Assembly. After
hearing 6 other appeals bordering on the defection of 26 lawmakers of the Rivers State House of Assembly and other matters, the Apex Court reserved judgment to a date to be communicated to the parties. As lawyers to Governor Fubara await the final verdict of the court, the lead counsel to Governor Fubara is optimistic of victory, while another member of the team clears the air on the withdrawal of the appeal.
So we won at the Court of Appeal, and the other side came on appeal to the Supreme Court. Luckily today, the 6 appeals were heard and judgment has been reserved.
As you are well aware, we filed an appeal against the judgment of the Court of Appeal in respect of the budget of the state. The budget has since expired. We are now talking of 2025 budget, but that appeal had to do with 2024 budget. Secondly, with respect to the defection, the legislators, it was after the judgment of the High Court, Joseph Motosho, and the Court of Appeal, that they defected. So the question of their defection is now pending before the Federal Court in Port Harcourt.
Governor Fubara is, among other issues, challenging the legality of Mr. Martin Amewele as the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, having allegedly defected to the All Progressives Congress along with 26 other members of the House.
Meanwhile, following the Supreme Court decision earlier today in favor of the Speaker of the Rivers State House of Assembly, Martin Amewele, he is thanking the Apex Court for ruling in the favor of the Assembly. Now, Mr. Amewele made this known during a press briefing at his residence in Port Harcourt. He said his faith and that of his colleagues in the judiciary had never been in doubt, and this decision will put an end to the political crisis in the state, while accusing Governor Fubara of spending Rivers State's money without appropriation.
The 10th Rivers State House of Assembly is happy with this development. Rivers people are elated that the Supreme Court has indeed spoken. Recall that at different fora, the governor has insisted that he was not going to obey any judgment, be it in the Federal High Court, the Court of Appeal, or any court at all. Today, the Supreme Court has spoken. We'll wait and see if he will disobey the judgment of the Supreme Court in the same way he disobeyed the judgment of the Supreme Court when the Supreme Court gave a judgment regarding local government and caretaker committees. We must, on behalf of Rivers people, let me say on behalf of the 10th Assembly, a huge thanks to the Supreme Court of Nigeria, specifically the justices of the Supreme Court that sat on this appeal today, that 5-man panel that delivered and dismissed the appeal of the governor.
More from the courts, and the Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal in Abuja has adjourned proceedings till Wednesday, February the 12th, for the All Progressives Congress to open its defense after Governor Monday Okpewolo closed his defense today. At the opening of the defense, lead counsel for Governor Okpewolo, Mr. Onyechi Ikpeazu, a senior advocate of Nigeria, called his first and only witness, one Mr. Usman Majek, who served as an agent to the APC in the Edo governorship election. On the cross-examination on the activities at his polling unit on the day of the election, the witness told the court that accreditation and voting took place simultaneously. He also affirmed that there was overvoting in his unit on the election day. The witness, however, told the court that he does not understand what is meant by uploading the unit's result to the INEC result viewing portal, that's IREV. The PDP Edo State governorship candidate, Asue Ighodalo, is challenging the electoral victory of Governor Monday Okpewolo, who was declared winner of the September 21st Edo governorship poll after securing 291,667 votes to defeat his closest rival, Asue Ighodalo, who polled 247,655 votes. Still in the courts, and the trial of some foreign nationals apprehended in December of 2024 by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, on charges of cybercrime and cyberterrorism failed to go on today as the interpreter arrived late in court. The interpreter has the responsibility of translating the charge and the proceedings from English to Mandarin for the foreigners. Trial Judge Justice Olayinka Faji had given the EFCC a strict 10 a.m. slot for the proceedings because the court had a full docket. When the case was called, the prosecution counsel, Hanatu Kofarnaisa, told the court that the defendants had not been brought to court as at 10 a.m. The court stood down the proceedings and then moved on to other matters. When the defendants arrived shortly after, the case was called a second time, and this time it was discovered that the interpreter was yet to arrive. The court refused to grant a second stand down and proceeded to adjourn the matter. While the court was writing its directive for adjournment, the interpreter arrived at about 10:48 a.m. When the prosecution counsel brought to the notice of the court the arrival of the interpreter, the judge wondered why there was a new interpreter after he had briefed the previous interpreter on how to behave and conduct the proceedings. The court insisted on maintaining consistency and sticking with the previous interpreter who was present at the arraignment of the foreigners. One of the defense counsel, Nkerem Abraham, had also asked the court to adjourn trial to another date in order to comply with the provisions of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act 2015, which provides that every defendant must be given adequate facilities for his or her defense. The court insisted, however, that from the time of arraignment till date, the counsel had enough time to prepare his defense. The other defense counsel, Ayo Olaya, told the court that he had a pending bail application for his clients. Justice Faji has adjourned till March the 4th and 5th for the commencement of trial and for hearing of the bail applications. Henceforth, there shall be no indiscriminate transfer of cases within the Nigeria Police without the written approval of the Inspector General of Police. Mr. Kayode Egbetukun handed down the order today in Abuja during a virtual meeting with strategic police managers across the country. While speaking on several pressing issues to bolster the ethical and professional conduct of police personnel, the IGP issued a stern warning to all officers regarding serious breaches of human rights, emphasizing the duty of the force to uphold the rights of Nigerians.
The directive I gave with respect to transfer of case files is that before you transfer any case from any command, you must first of all ask for the duplicate case file. Look at the duplicate case file. If you see anything that they are doing in that command that is not right, you must get approval from the IG before you call for the transfer of that case file. Also, the headquarters have been receiving complaints from members of the public on how your tactical squads are abusing their powers. Command CPs must lecture their officers in the tactical units to be civil to members of the public. I've also heard reports of some of them appearing in mufti while in operation. That must stop henceforth. There has also been complaints from members of the public on abuse of human rights by policemen generally. Command CPs must pay special attention to the conduct of their policemen and ensure that on no account is a policeman found guilty of human rights abuse.
In part two, after the break, stakeholders of Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria colloquium urged the body to use its various platforms as avenue to promote cultural and social change in Nigeria. Please stay with us. Welcome back. If you have just joined us, you're watching the News at 10 on Channels Television broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. More trouble for Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra, as Federal High Court Abuja adjourns indefinitely his trial. Supreme Court dismisses the appeal filed by Governor Siminalayi Fubara of Rivers State, challenging the leadership of the State House of Assembly under Mr. Martin Amewole. Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal adjourns proceedings to Wednesday, February the 12th, for the All Progressives Congress to open its defense. And Donald Trump says he will unveil a fresh swathe of tariffs this week, including 25% on all steel and aluminium imports. Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has declined comments after meeting with former President Olusegun Obasanjo for about 2 hours. He was accompanied to the meeting held at the Olusegun Obasanjo Presidential Library in Abeokuta, the Ogun State capital, by former governors of Sokoto Aminu Tambuwal and Liel Imoke of Cross River State. When approached by journalists, Mr. Abubakar declined comments when he left, as he said the meeting was a courtesy visit to his former principal.
Your Excellency, sir. A lot of people believe that you and Peter Obi have been having meetings for so long.
It's a courtesy visit, please.
Is this related to
I'm not going to talk about politics, please. All right. Thank you.
Is this connected to
Let's go. Thank you very much. It's okay. So let's go. Make a way.
Speakers at the first edition of the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria colloquium have urged the Christian body to use its platforms, various platforms that is, as an avenue to bring cultural and social change in the society, stating that it's the most effective strategy for nation building. The event, which brought together Christian leaders across the country, pushed for the empowering of the youth by giving them opportunities to thrive and build the right values for behavioral change. Our correspondent, Dele Omoyeni, reports.
It's a meeting of Christian leaders from the Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria to rub minds on the way forward for a better Nigeria. Themed the rebirth of our great nation, the colloquium coincides with the 40th anniversary of the fellowship.
Our nation is 65 years old this year. We've come a long way. We're not where we used to be, but we're still far from where we ought to be. So there's a yearning in the heart of everyone for the rebirth of a great nation. So the Lord put this theme in our heart based on Isaiah chapter 66 verse 8, that as soon as Zion travail, she brings forth.
The fellowship is a body of all Christian churches, and it's one of the 5 blocks of the Christian Association of Nigeria, the umbrella body of all Christians in Nigeria. Speakers at the colloquium make submissions on how the organization can play a vital role in nation building.
And that requires an ethical reorientation. If that spiritual rebirth can start with the PFN today, how lucky this country would be. Because we cannot continue like this. The truth is, public trust is the other name for leadership. And for all of us who go to serve government, is held in public trust. And we are accountable to the people.
You discover that we keep repeating certain elements in our history because we have not sat down to ask ourselves, what are we going to do 20 years from now? And that strategy you will find is also missing in how we design educational policy. Because education is not designed so that people can have a certificate. The people who designed education designed it to be able to unlock the life of the mind of the next generation so that they can unlock their human resource to be able to grow national wealth.
A sense of vision. They had a clear picture that someday all their people will be led by their own people. And then the last thing that they had was they had a sense of values. This will what will define what is right and what is wrong, what is good and what is bad, what is acceptable and what is unacceptable.
The colloquium will be followed by the National Biannual Conference of the Fellowship, which will run through the week. The election of new national officers, including the president, will also occur during the conference, with the incumbent seeking a re-election after completing his first two-year term. Dele Omoyeni, Channels Television News.
The federal government has finally waded into the face-off between the University College Hospital and the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company with a view to restoring power to the foremost hospital. After a closed-door meeting with both management of the hospital and the IBEDC, the Minister of Power, Mr. Bayo Adelabu, said the engagement yielded fruit as they all agreed that electricity will be restored into the UCH in 48 hours. Addressing journalists and other stakeholders after the meeting, Mr. Adelabu noted that far-reaching decisions have been made to ensure such an embarrassing situation does not occur again.
The impasse between the Ibadan Electricity Distribution Company, IBEDC, and the management of the University College Hospital, Ibadan, UCH, have generated so much controversy since September 2024, when IBEDC began to disconnect the facility because it could not pay the debt owed. But it appears the matter will soon be settled as the federal government, through the Minister of Power, finally decides to wade into the crisis. The Minister of Power, Mr. Bayo Adelabu, arrives the UCH with the sole purpose of settling all the disputes surrounding the disconnection. But before then, all stakeholders from IBEDC and UCH meet behind closed doors to sort out the grey areas. After an extensive meeting, they briefed the press on the outcome of their dialogue.
It's actually a customer-vendor crisis, which is between the hospital and the IBEDC, which we actually expected them to resolve in between themselves. I've intervened on this particular issue a couple of times, and the hospital was reconnected to the grid. When we agreed on some repayment plan, which I believe were not upheld, which is why the issue lingers till today.
Adelabu adds that series of efforts are underway to find lasting solutions to the crisis, even as they come up with stopgap measures.
We have agreed on an amount. There will be a monthly repayment. And I believe within a period of 8 months to 1 year, this will be fully paid down. And this will be in addition to the current bill being incurred by the hospital. To reduce the bill on the hospital, we agreed as number 2 on the separation of grid supply of electricity among the major consumers within the UCH territory.
On its part, the IBEDC says it is willing to do all it takes to restore power to the UCH within 48 hours.
We are committed to provide our services, our professional services, in collaboration with UCH to ensure that energy is well accounted for internally. We need to identify the area of losses as a collaborative measure.
Midway through the briefing, students of the College of Medicine staged a peaceful protest around the Chief Medical Director's office to drive home their demand of immediate reconnection and implementation of 50% reduction in energy tariff. At the end of it all, it appears that Mr. Adelabu has brokered a truce between all the parties involved with a proposal of defraying the outstanding sum of 283 million naira in the next 10 months, according to the mutual agreement reached at the meeting. Bukola Oriowo, Channels Television News.
Still ahead on the news at 10. Central Bank of Nigeria announces rescheduled date for February 2025 monetary policy meeting. That's in business news. Please join us again. Welcome back. Let's now head to the nation's capital, and Victoria Longjohn is standing by to give us the latest from our Abuja studios. Hello, Victoria.
Many thanks, Ayo. The Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, is asking President Bola Tinubu to sign the South-South Development Commission Bill into law to create a balance across the 6 regions of the country. At a news conference in Abuja, the national spokesman of the group, Mr. Olorogun Ominimini, says the assent to the South-South Development Commission Bill will promote broader regional development in the area and complements the work of the Niger Delta Development Commission, noting that withholding of assent to the bill is capable of creating a feeling of exclusion and dejection on the part of the people of the South-South. The group also called on the people of the Niger Delta to continue to maintain law and order to allow leaders of the region to sustain active engagement with the federal government.
What the BOT and PANDEF is saying is that Mr. President should take it as a matter of urgent importance to assent to the bill for the creation of the South-South Development Commission, which is different from NDDC. NDDC is based on derivations on natural resources. That is why, because people misconstrued NDDC for the development commissions of the other region, hence we have said the name should be reverted to UMPADEC, so that the public can understand clearly that NDDC is based on derivation to solve the ecological problem, the environmental problem, bedeviling this region that produce the money to run Nigeria. So that is on the reversal of the name to UMPADEC. So the role of NDDC is different from the role of the other development commission.
In Adamawa State, Governor Umaru Fintiri says the ultra-modern Jimeta shopping complex is a strategic initiative meant to fast-track economic growth alongside other development projects his administration has embarked upon. The governor made the disclosure during the groundbreaking and flag-off ceremony of the Jimeta ultra-modern shopping complex in Yola, the state capital. According to the governor, he says his administration will continue with his development programs to benefit the people of the state.
The construction of the Jimeta ultra-modern shopping complex, a major project valued at over 19 billion naira, is one of the projects initiated by the Umaru Fintiri administration aimed at boosting economic activities and attracting investors to the state. The governor arrives at the venue of the groundbreaking ceremony accompanied by his deputy, Professor Kalitapua Farauta George, the Speaker of the State Assembly, and members of the State Executive Council.
Today we are here to witness yet another uncommon transformation
In his welcome address, the chairman of the Yola North Local Government Council, Ibrahim Jimeta, recalls the history of the shopping complex and gives reasons for its transformation. Just as the Commissioner, Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Isha Adabari, gives an insight of the project.
Just as the old movie and police runabouts, which gave way to the new Unity and flyovers, so will be the new ultra-modern complex. The old must give way to the new if we must develop and prosper. Let me therefore, on behalf of the good people of Jimeta, commend and appreciate Your Excellency's visionary leadership and commitment to a new Adamawa state of our dream.
The business sector has been touched by the construction of this ultra-modern complex to the extent that it will stimulate economic growth for the state and also bring investment to the state.
There is a display of the prototype of the shopping complex showing how it will look like on completion. In his remarks, Governor Umar Fintiri describes the project as a deliberate initiative to create a vibrant commercial hub that will foster economic growth as well as generate employment opportunities.
The Jimeta Ultra-Modern Shopping Complex is a landmark initiative which is not just about building a structure, it is about creating an enduring legacy, a vibrant commercial hub, and an environment that will attract investment, foster economic growth, and create jobs for our youth and our people in general. It is said to become a key part of the economic landscape of Adamawa State, bringing together both modern retail spaces and state-of-the-art facility. This is part of our broader vision to modernize the urban and rural landscape of Adamawa.
Done with his speech, Governor Fintiri proceeds for the groundbreaking and flag-off. He thereafter takes a tour of the ongoing construction of the complex. As he departs the venue of the event, he however appeals to traders and the commercial community to take ownership of the project and encourage stakeholders to work towards the project's success.
And that's it from the nation's capital. It's now over to Joke Rogers for business news.
Thanks, Victoria. Welcome to Business News. Nigeria's Monetary Policy Committee will hold its 299th meeting on Wednesday and Thursday next week. The announcement of the new dates by the Central Bank of Nigeria follows the postponement of the meeting from February 17 and 18th February. Its first meeting for 2025 had also been postponed in January due to delays in the release of the rebased Consumer Price Index by the National Bureau of Statistics. Confirmation of the new date allows economic analysts and financial market stakeholders to focus on the bank's next move regarding monetary policy rate. And with the inflation concerns rising, the key question remains whether the MPC will maintain current rates or adjust them to stabilize the economy. Let's now go to the domestic stock market, which opens the week on a tepid note. Laddie Williams has the details.
All right, let's get a sense of how your money performed today. It's the first trading day of the week, and the market kicks off near flats there, just about 4 basis points down, 105,000 for the all-share index. Let's look at the activity now. It was more trading activity today compared to the last trading day. Just value in the red there, about 10.41 billion, less than what we had on Friday. To the sectors we track now, there was profit taking on the banking counter after rising, most of last week with most of the tier 1 and some tier 2 banks, shedding gains there, and a big 1.02% drop. Consumer goods, for the goods, 0.10%, 9 basis points rise there for the oil and gas counter. So today, the Central Bank of Nigeria announced new dates for its first rate setting meeting of 2025. So expectations now, would it be a hold or a hike at the next meeting? Fingers crossed.
That's Business News Tonight. Over to you, Ayo, today.
Thank you so much, Joke. Hamas says it's delaying the release of Israeli hostages until further notice, accusing Israel of breaching the Gaza ceasefire agreement. Israel calls the decision a complete violation of the ceasefire deal, which began last month. Here's Simon Pusey with more on this and other international news in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
When I came here, they were going to buy it, and Biden was going to approve it. All of a sudden, Biden didn't because he heard I wasn't going to. I don't want U.S. steel being owned by a foreign country.
Donald Trump says he will unveil a fresh swathe of tariffs this week, including 25% on all steel and aluminium imports.
I don't mind an investment in a company, but especially U.S. Steel. U.S. Steel for 15 years was the greatest company in the world, the greatest #1 company in the world, and I'm not going to let another country buy it. We had a great meeting on that, but they are allowed to invest in it, and that's different.
The U.S. president also says he's planning to impose reciprocal tariffs on countries currently taxing U.S. imports, but did not specify which nations would be targeted, or if there would be any exemptions. Canada and Mexico are two of the U.S.'s biggest steel trading partners, and Canada is the biggest supplier of aluminium into the U.S. The move would mark another escalation in Trump's trade policy, which has already sparked retaliation from China. Beijing's retaliatory tariffs on some U.S. exports coming into effect today. China's foreign ministry has urged the U.S. to correct its erroneous approach and stop politicizing and weaponizing economic and trade issues. Meanwhile, President Trump has defended Elon Musk's drive to shut down sections of the U.S. government amid legal challenges, transparency concerns, and questions over conflicts of interest. Democrats have accused Musk of personally benefiting from some of the changes that the Trump administration is trying to push through, such as the proposed closure of the U.S. Agency for International Development. Mr. Trump said Musk's unofficial Department of Government Efficiency would soon examine spending in the military and the Department of Education. The Sudanese military has called for diplomatic support for a new government that it says it wants to form after it recaptures the capital Khartoum from rival forces. The Sudanese army has been regaining control of areas in the city previously held by the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces in recent weeks. Army leader General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan had told a meeting of politicians who back the army over the weekend that he would form a technocratic wartime government with a prime minister. He insisted there would be no negotiations with the RSF. The two sides have been fighting for close to 2 years, a conflict that has forced 12 million people from their homes and left many starving.
Je fais cette petite vidéo pour essayer de vous remonter le moral.
The French President Emmanuel Macron has used AI-generated deep-fake videos to publicize the start of the AI Action Summit taking place in Paris. In a video posted on his social media accounts, Mr. Macron reacts to a montage of deep-fake videos of himself in popular films and TV series by saying, "Nicely done."
Bien joué. C'est assez bien fait, ça m'a plutôt fait rire.
Videos of Macron inserted into popular media using AI have been circulating on French social media for the past few months. In October, he told Variety magazine that deepfakes can be a form of harassment for some people.
Pour l'action sur l'intelligence artificielle.
The British pop star Ed Sheeran has been stopped from busking in the southern Indian city of Bengaluru, with police saying he didn't have the necessary permissions. A video showing a local police officer unplugging using Sheeran's microphone on Bengalaru's Church Street, a crowded shopping and entertainment area, has since gone viral. Officials told the ANI news agency a request from Mr. Sheeran's team to busk on the road was rejected to avoid congestion in the area. But Ed Sheeran insisted on Instagram, "We had permission to busk, by the way." And a nationwide blackout in Sri Lanka has been blamed on a monkey that intruded into a power station south of Colombo. Power is gradually being restored across the island nation of 22 million people, with medical facilities and water purification plants being given priority. On social media, people criticized the authorities while making fun of the incident. "One monkey equals total chaos. Time to rethink infrastructure," one person wrote. The blackout started on Sunday, forcing many people to rely on generators. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. British-Nigerian boxers Lawrence Okoli and Richard Riakpohe will face off in a heavyweight bout on April 5 at Manchester City's Co-op Live Arena, nearly 2 years since they almost came to blows at the European premiere of the movie Creed III. Okoli, with 21 wins, 16 being knockouts and just a defeat, is now a fully fledged heavyweight boxer, winning his heavyweight debut against Hussein Muhammad in December last year, while Richard will boast of 17 wins. 13 of the wins in knockouts and a defeat will be facing Okoli in his very first heavyweight match in the division. Away from boxing, Pep Guardiola has challenged his Manchester City side to prove they are still something special in their blockbuster Champions League tie against Real Madrid despite a turbulent season for the Premier League champions. The two clubs will meet in Europe's early competition for a 4th consecutive season, but this time much earlier in the tournament as both underperformed in the new Champions League format. And that's your sports news. I'm Kelly. Again, guys, back to you today.
Many thanks, Kelly. It was an evening of glowing tributes to Dr. Herbert Wigwe, his wife Doreen and son Chizzy, 12 months after the unfortunate helicopter crash which claimed their lives in the United States. Access Holdings, the company which he led, invited close colleagues, acquaintances from far and near to join the family in Lagos to remember and celebrate their lives and times at the first memorial service. Our correspondent, Ini John Mekwa, reports.
It's a hall filled with friends and loved ones of Dr. Herbert Wigwe, his wife Doreen and son Chizzy. February 9, 2024 will remain indelible in the minds of all here as the loss of 3 outstanding individuals who have left big shoes to be filled is not lost on family members, colleagues, business partners, traditional leaders, high-profile politicians, and others. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu had a close relationship with the Wigwe family and says 1 year later, the loss is still fresh.
The pain of their passing still lingers like an open wound that time has not been able to heal. If love, friendship, or sheer force of will could rewrite history, we would have turned back time.
President Bola Tinubu sends his tribute through the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Mr. Wale Edun.
Through the Wigwe University project, he sought to redefine higher education in Nigeria, believing that knowledge and skills were the greatest investments in a nation's future. His impact was not confined to boardrooms and balance sheets. It was deeply felt in the lives he touched, the opportunities he created, and the hope that he inspired.
The tributes continue from former President Olusegun Obasanjo, who considers Dr. Wigwe a son and had followed his journey through the years. His message is read by the Acting Chief Executive Officer of Access Holdings.
What struck me most about Herbert was his relentless energy and firm devotion to Africa's development.
The loss has been felt beyond the shores of Nigeria. He had ties with France and was seen as a link for both countries.
His strength of character, his deeply held belief, and his commitments were so powerful that we are still with us today.
Cheesy's friends share a glimpse into his life and their time together with him.
And I learned a lot from him up close. I witnessed the depth of love and commitment he had for his family and close friends.
I will miss the days when we'd sit on the balcony talking about how we'd retire and what we'd do once we hit the $100 million mark. Funny enough, as I wrote this, I was actually close to tears.
Warmth and non-discriminate acceptance is expressed by close friends of late Doreen Wigwe.
She treated everyone with the same grace and respect. She was generous in every sense of the word. She had a way about her. She made everyone feel like they mattered.
Tributes, love, a fearless spirit are all in words except sustained. The keynote lecture by Her Excellency, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, is directed at Dr. Wigwe's children.
The institution which they started was not intended just to be for the times, but to be for all times. The name and legacy that your father and mother and brother have left you and David and Hannah and Okachi will last for your children and grandchildren.
Speaking for the immediate family, Tochi Wigwe takes up the challenge of leaving the legacy.
Each gesture has helped us navigate this journey of healing, reminding us that we are not alone. It's in the moments of laughter, the shared tears, and your stories that we find solace and strength.
The gathering had tributes expressed also in music, known for his love for good music. Ini John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
And the main news again. The Federal High Court today in Abuja adjourned the trial of the leader of the proscribed indigenous people of Biafra IPOB, Nnamdi Kanu, indefinitely. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Ayo Tunde Balogun. Everyone here, have a good night.